going on, guys? So today we're going to be solving question 36, and this is from the SAT number 17. This is the April 2019 QAS test, and let's jump in here. So 36 says, based on the passage, Burke believes that French leaders who would advocate moderate positions are something. So first thing to notice, we got this little tag based on the passage. This is like according to the passage, in the passage indicates. All that tells us is that we're looking for probably one specific sentence which will answer this question. We may not be able to find that specific sentence right off the bat, but we should be able to find at least the right area that will help us to answer this question. Next thing that I'll use is I'll look at 35, which references line 17, and look at 37, which references line 30. That tells me it's likely that my text that I'm looking for is going to fall within this range of 17 to 30. Again, it's not perfect, but it works pretty well, so I usually start with that. Then it says that we're looking for something that Burke believes that French leaders who would advocate moderate positions are. So something about French leaders advocating moderate positions. So immediately I go back to the text. Here's lines 15 up to 30 down here. So let's see if we find something about French leaders advocating moderate positions. So we keep looking, and then here is eventually where we should end up. Kind of almost toward the end. But it starts by saying, if any of them should happen to propose a scheme of liberty, right? If any of them has an idea, soberly limited, meaning it's reasonable, and defined with proper qualifications, meaning that it doesn't go too far, right? He will immediately be outbid by his competitors who will produce something more splendidly popular, okay? Suspicions will be raised of his fidelity to his cause, moderation will be stigmatized as the virtue of cowards, etc., etc. So this little area right here is basically telling us this is what happened when a French leader is not an instrument of the people, right? But actually proposes something, proposes some sort of scheme of liberty, right? Or advocates a moderate position, which is right here, soberly limited and defined with proper qualifications. So these sentences here sort of tell us what the response will be. So the first response is that he will immediately be outbid by his competitors, and also that suspicions will be raised of his fidelity to his cause. So these to me seem like the most probable text that we could use. And one of them is saying that basically he's going to be beaten by his competitors if he proposes a moderate solution, one. And then two, he's basically there's going to be suspicions raised about how faithful he is to a cause. So let's go to answer choices and see if we can find a text that will match, or an answer choice that will match one of those. So A says that he's brave, but likely to be distrusted. And at this point, we can notice sort of what the pattern of the answer choices are, which are we start with some quality, but also this. Some quality, but also this. Some quality, but also this. So let's dive in a little bit. And I think we can start with A to sort of calibrate us. So A says brave, but are likely to be distrusted. So for this reason here, we'll look at this word brave, which is sort of a positive description of the people. And I think that it would be fair to say that Burke would have a positive reaction to a French leader who advocated moderate positions, because this is sort of set in contrast to the National Assembly, which he criticizes a lot. So I think it's appropriate to look for some sort of positive, something positive about what these French leaders who would advocate moderate positions are, something positive. So A says brave, which is positive. The only thing is that's a little too specific. So I would say let's keep it for right now based on that, but let's come back because it may be a little too specific. The second part here too, likely to be distrusted, does seem to be correct because we already said that suspicions are likely to be raised against him. So let's keep A. B says cowardly, and already at this point I'm skeptical of this answer choice because it really seems like he would be more likely to call them brave or give them some sort of virtuous description as opposed to just cowardly, which is more negative. The other thing is that it says it's likely to be praised, which the text really says the opposite, that they'll be outbid by their competitors and suspicions will be raised against them. So let's get rid of B. C says that these people will be virtuous. Okay, that's good so far, but are likely to be ignored. All right, I think that's possible. That's kind of what he says, right? He says it's a good thing, but they're likely to be outbid or whatever. So I think this is fine. D says sensible, okay, but are likely to be undermined. Again, I think this is good. Sensible is basically saying a positive description of them, but saying they're still likely to be undermined, which kind of closely matches the outbid by the competitors. So I like that one. I also like this one because sensible is a little less strong and a little less specific than virtuous and brave. So we can keep this. So at this point, we have these three answer choices here, and we have to sort of decide between them. So let's start down the line. Let's start with brave. What do we think about this one? Brave, but are likely to be distrusted. So if we look in our text, we do know that they're going to be distrusted, right? It says that suspicions will be raised of his fidelity to his cause. But it doesn't say anything about him being brave here. So even if it's probable, even if Burke really would think that they're brave, it's too specific and too strong and not justified by the text, so we get rid of A. Then we have to decide, is it virtuous or sensible? And is it likely to be ignored or likely to be undermined? So going back here, what I see is I see more reason to say that he's likely to be undermined here, immediately outbid by his competitors who will produce something more splendidly popular. So basically, his competitors, if he advocates a moderate position, everyone else he's competing with is just going to steamroll him because they're going to advocate more splendid positions, more flashy, etc. So there's going to be undermined. And I think sensible makes sense as well because it says here that it's going to be soberly limited, a scheme of liberty, soberly limited, defined with proper qualifications. It does seem to be more sensible. Virtuous could be true as well and something that Burke believes, but I think we would have to see stronger evidence. Like this person might be, the person who advocates this position, he may be a saint or he will be a hero or he has a lot of character. We need something that talks specifically about the virtues of this person. And it doesn't really say that he's likely to be ignored. It does say that he'll sort of be cast aside, but here, the fact that suspicions will be raised about his fidelity to the cause tells us that he's not likely to be ignored. He's actually likely to be more targeted with negative feedback. So for that reason, I think we can get rid of C and choose answer choice D as our correct answer for question 36.